Hello friends, this is Carmen. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to my balcony. And if it's your first time here, welcome. I have a video for you today that's actually been requested of me, and I get more questions on this particular plant than any other plant on my balcony, asking what it is. And I'm going to tell you all about it. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so this plant here is my Portulacaria Afra. Normally sits up there, and it has been for the last 3 years. It is elephant bush, and I've had this particular one in this pot. You can see the stump there. It's pretty thick. I've had this growing in here for I think 4 years, but as a hanging trailing plant for the last 3 that I've been trimming it and letting it grow down to this length. When I moved out of my house, it was about down to here, and in the last 3 years or so, almost 3 years, it's grown a couple of feet. Most people don't know that you can make these into trailing plants. A lot of them are grown as just, in a bush form, but you can make them into a trailing plant. They are vigorous growers. They are native to South Africa, also known as the elephant bush, because they are eaten by elephants in South Africa, but it's also eaten by the culture there too. It's often mistaken for a crassula because it's often called mini jade or little jade, but it is not a crassula. And I'll show you a picture here of how big they can actually get as far as the large size in bush form. They're really spectacular. I have a couple that are growing like this in a trailing form. One of them out front of my front door, and this one in my patio. And I've just added this one. I'm going to grow it as a more traditional hanging pot with this hanger here. And these are actually all cuttings from this one. I have cut and trimmed this one numerous times, along with the one out my front door, so you can see how vigorous a grower it is. Super easy to propagate. I just cut it, take off a few of the leaves down at the bottom, let the stem callus over, and then just plop it into some soil. The soil mixture that I use is my regular cactus mix with heavy on the perlite or pumice, and that's what I use. Now this pot here, I did add, last year I added this cutting of the Sticks on Fire just to give it some height, and I also excuse me, added the variegated version of this elephant bush here. I had gotten a small bush or container of the variegated one, and I have it in here. And then my real purpose was to train it as a bonsai. They make great bonsai trees too. Actually, this year for Christmas, I gave one away that I had started as a bonsai in the regular version, regular color, to my niece's husband. And so I started that off for him. But this little bonsai here, I've been training, cutting the bottom here and the leaves there for the last probably 2 years now. Now, the difference between, as far as care, from the variegated to the regular one, I keep this one more out of direct sun. I don't let this one get direct sun. If anything, it gets a little bit of morning sun because I'm east facing here. Gets a tiny bit of morning sun, and that's it. Because the variegated one does tend to burn much quicker. And this one here, the regular version, can be left out in full sun. I see it numerous places here in Phoenix, in landscape and restaurants, patios, things like that, where it is in full sun because it can take full sun. So being on that shelf up there and now this one here, it will get more direct morning sun than the variegated one. See, this one back here, I have it more towards the back of the pot so it doesn't get real direct sun. Now, the other thing that I found is that these little tiny leaves, it's almost not quite as bad, but very similar to the burro's tail, where you just can't touch any of those little petals because they will fall off. That's what I found with these also. They are, once you have it potted up, leave it. Don't try to handle it too much because you can see in just getting it down and stuff, I've lost a couple of leaves there. But once in the growing season, which we're starting to slowly go into the growing season here, in Phoenix, going into February here pretty soon, you can see the little buds starting to form there. And where you cut, it will also send off a new stem also. Okay. As far as watering, in the summertime, it's thirsty. Especially this one here that is in more direct sun. Even by noon, the sun out here in the summertime on the patio can get mid-90s or higher. So I do water this one in the summertime, probably about twice a week. It's very free draining soil, so it doesn't, retain a whole lot of moisture, but just enough. In the wintertime right now, I'm watering it about every 10, maybe 14 days because it does go a little bit dormant on me, not as much growth, and so I don't want to water it too much. Okay, I have not had any issues with bugs on this one. No mealy bugs or anything like that, thank goodness. Knock on wood, I don't have any wood around me. But I have not had any issues with that. I did lose one small specimen of it to root rot, and that was because I watered it too much. I was trying to do another bonsai, and I watered it just a little bit too much, or perhaps it wasn't calloused over well enough. So that was the only time that I've had issues with it, is basically root rot. I have not had any issues with spider mites or mealybugs or anything like that. And these are out here year round. I don't take them inside during the winter months. It stays outside here. Rarely do I get a frost warning where it gets down below freezing here. If I do, I will cover them up. I don't buy the frost paper layers. I just use some thin old bed sheets that you can get like at Goodwill or something, and they're just as good. They'll last you longer too. And I'll drape that over some of my more delicate succulents, and that will protect them. But other than that, like last week we were down to 36, 37. I didn't cover them, and they did great, doing wonderful out here. So this is definitely one of my pride and joys. It is a Portulacaria Afra, and you can definitely find these very, very easily at big box stores. I see that they're selling these much more now in the big box stores in this form of the hanging plant. When they sell them for like $16, $17, which, I wouldn't. These are so easy to come by. If you have a friend that has one, just take 3 or 4 cuttings and you can start your own. So I wouldn't even bother buying them at the big box stores, and if you have some, take some cuttings, make it a hanging plant, or go ahead and try the bonsai tree. Now this one I did buy the variegated one because I didn't have it, and I looked for one that had a very good stalk in the center that was very straight, as straight as possible, and I used that as the main bonsai. Okay, but super easy to grow. Definitely give it a try, and it does wonderful out here on my patio. It can be taken care of inside, but it does perfectly well outside too. Like I said, the green one needs a little bit more light, but this one will do great inside in bright indirect light. Okay, that's all for today, friends. I hope you enjoy this very quick video on this, highlighting this Portulacaria Afra, the plant that I am asked the most questions about. And if you do have any further questions on this plant, definitely leave them down below. Rosie and I will try to answer them the best we can. And thanks so much for stopping by today, friends. Give this video a like if you did enjoy it and you found it helpful. And if you're not already subscribed, please do subscribe. You never know what I'll be up to next. I do have not a plant tour, but I'm going to go visit a nursery to collaborate with a local nursery here in Phoenix, and I've got something special planned for later on in the week, so stay tuned for that. Thanks so much, friends. Have a blessed day.